What's going on, everyone? Brian here from Native Instruments. In this video, we're going to be talking about all of the amazing sounds that work on the Kontrol S-Series keyboard. So sit back, enjoy, and let's take a look. The Kontrol S-Series is a revolutionary keyboard controller that puts the world's best sound libraries at your fingertips. Get direct hands-on control over the world's best sound library with Kontrol MK3. Access thousands of instruments and effects, browse and tweak everything from synths and drums to orchestral libraries and scoring tools from Native Instruments and other leading plugin developers. When you purchase an S-Series keyboard, you get a ton of instruments and effects so you can start creating music right away. You first get a copy of Komplete 14 Select, which includes a ton of instruments and effects and basically over 15,000 sounds. You also now get the full version of Kontakt, any Kontakt instrument of your choice, and a few additional titles such as Hypha, Stradivari Cello, and Guitar Rig 7 LE. Also included is the Isotope Elements Suite, Komplete Control software, and your own copy of Ableton Live Lite. If there are other Kontakt libraries that you own and synths that are NKS compatible, all of these will directly integrate with the keyboard. The tool that makes the integration possible with NI Instruments, NKS partners, and third-party developers is Kontakt. The S-Series now directly integrates with Kontakt. Regardless of the DAW that you're using, when you load a new instance of Kontakt, the S-Series will automatically connect and integrate. Right off the bat, I can start browsing for an instrument directly from the S-Series. Right now, as I'm scrolling through my products, I'm able to see everything that I have installed inside of Kontakt on my computer. Now, regardless of who made the instrument, as I'm scrolling through the products, it's going to be a mixture of NI Kontakt libraries and libraries from partners like Heavyocity, Spitfire, Output, and many more. Now, if I know a particular instrument from a brand that I want to search through, I can just use the brand knob, and this list here, these are all of the different companies that I have Kontakt instruments for. With Heavyocity selected, as I'm scrolling through the products, these are all Heavyocity specific Kontakt instruments that I have installed here. So let's select Symphonic Destruction. And now as I scroll through the presets list, you'll actually hear an audio preview of what this preset sounds like, so you're able to hear it without actually having to load the instrument. This one sounds pretty good, so I can either push in the encoder or just push the load button. Now, depending on what instrument you have loaded, the Lightguide here is going to be showing you different information. So in this example with Symphonic Destruction, these keys down here are going to be triggering individual loops from these three sections here. So if I trigger, let's say C, it's triggering these three keys here. I can also mix different keys to create my own loops. Let's take a quick listen to some additional Kontakt libraries from different companies. Once the instrument's loaded, it's now super easy to control all of the parameters for this particular instrument. The 8 knobs here are going to be controlling whatever parameter you see on the screen. Right now I'm on page 1 of 2, and I can just click the right arrow, and now I have a second page of parameters I can adjust, such as filter cutoff. But as you can see in the software, there are a lot of parameters that I can also tweak. With NKS2, everything is conveniently categorized into different groups. So instead of going through, let's say 16, 17 pages, you can just go to the bank that you want to adjust. So if you want to deal with parameters that are dealing with the reverb, you click reverb, go to chorus, main effects, mixer if you want to bounce the levels of the different samples in here, or parameters dealing with the macros. One of the unique features of Kontakt is the ability to layer multiple libraries together. And using the S-Series, it's now easier than ever to create these multi-layered instruments and control all of the parameters. I have a blank instance of Kontakt loaded, and let's start layering some instruments together. Now, I'm currently on the Native Instruments brand category, and let's scroll through the products. And I want to go to the Symphony Series String Ensemble and start with that one. There we go. And let's load this. Now let's add a second instrument to this layer. Now from the S-Series, this is all possible. So if I click this button here, now it's going to the next empty or available slot, and we'll go back to browser and let's load up the brass ensemble. And you can hear the violins and the French horns stacked together. Let's get a third instrument in here. So I'll press this button. Now I have a new slot. I'll press browse, and let's find another company's product in here. Let's do infinite samples and just find some sort of cool synth. That one will work. Click load. So now we can hear all three instruments stacked together. And now I can cycle through the different instruments if there are particular parameters I want to adjust. Currently I'm on Pangea. I can tab over. Here's the Symphony Series Brass Ensemble, and now the String Ensemble as well. And I can adjust the parameters per instrument. And I can also remove certain instruments or change the order. On the topic of creating unique sonic layers, all three sizes of the S-Series feature Polyphonic Aftertouch, which adds another layer of expressiveness to your instruments. The S88 is the first widely available controller to combine Polyphonic Aftertouch with weighted hammer action keys. Let's take a look at a few examples of how this works. One of the instruments that comes with a keyboard that supports Polyphonic Aftertouch is Hypha. In the settings of this instrument, I can have Aftertouch affect the filter cutoff, resonance, and the pitch. Let's take a listen to this example. A favorite instrument of mine that supports Polyphonic Aftertouch is Jacob Collier Audience Choir. So if I go to the settings of the instrument, I can make sure that Aftertouch is enabled, Polyphonic Aftertouch is selected, and this is where I can choose how it's going to change the sound of the instrument. So for example, if I have it selected to vowel, I can have it morph from an sound to an ah. Fables is a really good example of how Aftertouch can control a ton of different parameters within inside of an instrument. There's also a handful of NKS instruments that are adopting Polyphonic Aftertouch. For example, with Time Macro by Orchestral Tools, the Aftertouch will morph between a woman's choir and then brass instruments. There There are also non-Kontakt instruments such as Diva by Yuhi that support Polyphonic Aftertouch. You can even use the keyboard's Aftertouch to control the wavetable instrument inside of Ableton. The S-Series comes with the full version of Kontakt. With the full version, you can load everything from native instruments, but there are also tons of companies with amazing Kontakt instruments that require the full version to work. For example, there's this company called 99 Sounds where they released a free instrument called 99 Sound Effects, but it requires the full version of Kontakt. I added this library to my custom instruments folder, so now when I go into the browse mode, I can actually see it on the display. So if I go over to 99 Sound Effects, there's the instrument, I can load it, and now I can start using it. You also get any Kontakt instrument extra of your choice. It doesn't matter the price either. For example, Action Woodwinds is just one of the additional instruments that you could choose from. Isotope Element Suite also comes with the S-Series, so after creating some music, you can mix and master your track. You also get a copy of Ableton Live Lite so you can record, mix, and master your ideas. With Ableton and other DAWs, the S-Series integrates seamlessly so you can control the most important functions of your DAW, limiting using your mouse and keyboard. For example, when pressing the DAW button, this brings up the volume faders per track, letting me bounce the levels, adjust pan settings, mute, and solo. Using the encoder, if I have multiple tracks with Kontakt or Komplete control, the controls will instantly switch over. So right now I have Symphonic Destruction loaded and we can hear it. If I click the encoder to the right, now we're on Pangea. And for recording, I can enable or disable the metronome. I can enable or disable automation recording and basic functions such as play, stop, record, undo, redo, and even quantize. Now that we know how the keyboard works and all of the sounds that you could potentially use, let's put it all together and sketch out a track. Hopefully this video made you realize that the Kontrol S-Series is not just for Native Instruments products, but for a ton of additional third-party Kontakt libraries that are available. For a more detailed overview of all of the functions of the S-Series, make sure you check out our How to Use Everything on the Kontrol S-Series video, and for more product information, check it out at nativeinstruments.com. Thanks for watching.